Students, how do you think the GDP is estimated? Let us learn in this section about calculating GDP.
The people in various economic activities produce very large number of goods and services. You might think it is an impossible thing to calculate the value of so many goods and products like cars, pots and electronics and so on.
Keeping in mind that the enormity of this task, the economists suggest that the value of goods and services is to be used rather than finding out the actual number. Let me explain it to you through an example.
Suppose there are 5,000 coconuts that are sold at rupees 10 each. The value of the 5,000 coconuts is rupees 50,000.
But students, how is the total value of goods and services calculated? Let us now see another example.
Suppose a farmer sells 100 kilograms of paddy to a rice mill for rupees 25 per kilogram. The total value of paddy is rupees 2,500. The rice mill sells 80 kilograms of rice to the hotelier for rupees 40 per kilogram and 20 kilogram of husk for rupees 20 per kilogram. So, the total value of the goods produced by the rice miller is rupees 3,600, which is 80 multiplied by 40 plus 20 multiplied by 20 and paid by the hotelier. The hotelier uses the rice for idli, dosa and husk is used as the fuel. The hotelier makes around rupees 5,000 by selling the idli and dosa.
Students, paddy, rice and husk are at the intermediary stages which are not used by the final consumer.
In other words, the paddy used as raw materials to make the final products, which are idli and dosa. In other words, value of rupees 5,000 worth of the hotel items include the rupees 3,600, which covers the value of rice and husk.
If we were to count the value of the rice and paddy, then it means we are trying to count the value again. This means we would be calculating the value of paddy, then as rice and husk and then as idli or dosa.
If we assume that the rice was bought by a family instead of an hotelier, it simply means that it is the final point. The family may make idli or dosa for their own consumption, which means they are not sold as goods.
Students, there is another angle to this. Let us focus only on the value that is added at every step by the producer.
In the first stage of the farmer selling paddy to the rice mill owner, there are no other inputs, so he sold it for rupees 2,500 and hence the value is rupees 2,500. In the next stage, the rice mill owner processed it and sold the husk and rice to the hotelier at rupees 3,600. Now if we subtract the value of inputs, that is the paddy worth rupees 2,500, it gives rupees 1,100, isn't it? In the third stage, the hotelier is selling idli and dosa with the rice purchased and making rupees 5,000. When we subtract the value of the inputs used for it, that is the value of rice and paddy worth rupees 3,600, we get rupees 1,400. Therefore, the value added at all stages is 2,500 plus 1,100 plus 1,400, which adds to rupees 5,000.
Both the methods give us same result, isn't it?
The value of the final goods and services produced in a specific year gives us the total production of the sector. The sum of the production in the three sectors gives us the gross domestic production or the GDP of the country.
The period between April and March every year is considered as the financial year. At the end of every financial year, the GDP is brought out. It is the GDP which has the count of the market value of all final goods and services that are produced. Students, here we have to make note of an interesting point.
We are saying GDP is the market value of all final goods and services produced. But what about the things that are not sold or purchased in the market? Like, for instance, work like cooking, cleaning, gardening, etc.
Although these activities are important for an economy, as they do not involve any monetary transaction, they are out of the purview of GDP. Students, we have seen how GDP has increased over the years with the increase in the goods and services produced. It is important for us to know how the increase happened and what type of activities contributed more to the increase of GDP. So, now let us learn about the different sectors and their significance in GDP. It has been a case in point that agriculture and allied activities has been one of the most important contributors of GDP during the initial stages of development for many of the now developed countries.
With the developments in farming, the agriculture sector underwent a transition and the production increased. Many people took up other activities like crafts and trade as the required food needs were met by the other producers. The buying and selling of goods rapidly increased, which in turn resulted in increased demand for goods and services.
The rulers or the kings appointed large number of people as administrators. In this way, the individuals found their livelihoods. If you remember, the Industrial Revolution resulted in new methods of manufacturing and establishment of new industries in the countries, isn't it?
Many people who worked on farms joined in the factories. The demand for goods increased, which resulted in mass production in the factories at lower rates. The goods were traded across the world. For such countries, industries became the important sector both in terms of total production of goods and services and for employment as well.
From this, we can understand that there was a shift that has changed the important sectors.
Gradually, the industrial sector became the predominant sector, while the importance of agricultural sector for production as well as employment reduced.
In addition, in the recent years, especially in the last 50 years, the focus on the service industry in the developed countries increased.
The service sector gradually dominated the total production. Now, let us learn about what are the different services that come under the services sector. Many people started working in the services sector and the production activities included services rather than production of goods. In the three categories of services, the first category consists of community, social and personal services. This includes defense, public administration, health, media, veterinary activities, archives, library, museums and other cultural activities. The second category in the services sector consists of finance, insurance and real estate. This consists of services in banks, post office savings accounts, non-bank financial companies, life insurance and general insurance corporation, services of brokers, real estate companies, etc. The third category of services consists of trade, hotels, transport and communication. This includes shipping, hotels and other services.
So, from agricultural to industry to services, this is the pattern that has been prevalent in the developed countries. On these lines, what do you think was the pattern for India?
These pie charts show us the contribution of each sector to GDP in the financial years 1972 to 73 and 2011 to 12. The GDP consists of the production from the three sectors of agriculture, industry and services.
Students, from these graphs, can you tell how much each sector contributes to the GDP?